In the busy city of Accra, Alma was just days away from living her dream. Her wedding dress hung beautifully by the window, the decorations were ready, and every little detail had been planned perfectly. Friends and family were excited, and Alma couldn't stop smiling. She had waited so long for this moment, to walk down the aisle and say, "I do," to the man she loved, Kwame. But just 3 days before the wedding, her world fell apart. A message popped up on her phone that made her heart stop. "I need time to think." That was it. No explanation, no call. And just like that, Kwame disappeared. His phone was off, his apartment was empty, and even his family claimed they didn't know where he was. Alma felt her chest tighten as gossip began to spread through the neighborhood. Some said he got cold feet, others whispered there was another woman. For a moment, she felt broken, like her whole life had been a lie. But Alma wasn't the kind of woman who stayed down for long. She wiped her tears, took a deep breath, and decided to find the truth herself. She started making calls, asking questions, checking old messages, and following every clue she could find. Each discovery cut deeper, but it also made her stronger. The heartbreak that was supposed to destroy her slowly became her power. Alma didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning of her story, and karma was watching. Alma couldn't sleep for days after Kwame disappeared. Her mind kept replaying every moment they had shared, searching for signs she might have missed. She remembered how he had said he was going on a work trip just a week before he vanished, promising to bring her something special. But something about that trip didn't sit right anymore. Determined to know the truth, Alma started piecing things together. She checked his social media, called his colleagues, and even spoke to his driver. Bit by bit, the lies began to unfold. One evening, her friend sent her a photo that made her blood run cold. There was Kwame, smiling in a fine suit, standing next to another woman, and behind them, a big banner that read, "Congratulations on your engagement." It wasn't Accra. It was Kumasi. While Alma had been planning her dream wedding, he had been celebrating a new one with someone else. For a moment, the world around her went silent. Her hands shook, her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't scream or break down. Instead, she felt something new rising inside her, calm, sharp, and dangerous. Alma realized she had been loving a stranger, a man who had built his charm on lies. But this time, she wasn't the soft-hearted girl who believed everything she was told. She opened her laptop and began collecting every piece of proof she could find. She saved screenshots of his messages, receipts from hotels, and records of bank transfers he had made under fake names. She even managed to get photos of him and the new woman from the party. Every small detail became a piece of her growing puzzle. She moved quietly, not letting anyone know what she was doing. Her friends begged her to block him and move on, but Alma just smiled and said, "Not yet." She wasn't after revenge out of anger, she wanted the truth to come out in the loudest way possible. The kind of truth that couldn't be denied or twisted. She wanted the lies that had fooled her, and maybe others too, to finally burn in daylight. At night, when everyone thought she was asleep, Alma would sit at her desk going through evidence, one message at a time. The same man who once said, "You are my everything," had written to another woman, "You're the one I've been waiting for." It hurt deeply, but she didn't delete a single thing. She organized it all neatly into folders and labeled them carefully. Each file was a silent weapon, and she was waiting for the perfect moment to use them. Alma wasn't the same woman who used to dream about a perfect wedding. She had changed. Her heartbreak had turned into focus, her pain into power. She knew the day would come when every lie Kwame told would crumble, and when it did, she would be the one standing tall, holding the truth for the whole world to see. Alma had always tried to win over Kwame's family, especially his mother. From the very beginning, the woman made it clear that she didn't think Alma was good enough for her son. She came from money, from a family that bragged about their class and connections, while Alma came from a humble background. But Alma loved Kwame deeply, so she smiled through the judgment, helped with family events, and showed respect even when it wasn't returned. She thought love would soften his mother's heart. She was wrong. After Kwame disappeared and Alma found out about his engagement to another woman, she decided to face the family one last time. She dressed neatly, walked up to their mansion, and knocked on the big iron gate. The housekeeper looked surprised to see her but let her in. Inside, Kwame's mother sat on the couch like a queen, surrounded by relatives. When she saw Alma, her lips curved into a cold smile. "What are you doing here?" she asked sharply. Alma took a breath and said, "I just want to understand what happened." But before she could say another word, the woman laughed. "You really thought you were one of us?" she said, shaking her head. Kwame finally came to his senses. He chose better. The whole room chuckled, some even whispered. Alma stood quietly, her hands clasped in front of her. She didn't cry or shout. Instead, she smiled, a calm, confident smile that made the room fall silent. Because by then, Alma knew something none of them did. She had discovered a secret that could turn their arrogance into shame. The new woman Kwame was engaged to, the one his mother was so proud of, was the daughter of a man Kwame's company had secretly cheated years ago. Alma had found the documents, the fake contracts, and the payment trails while going through Kwame's business records. She knew that once the truth came out, it wouldn't just ruin Kwame's name, it would destroy the family's reputation too. Alma looked at Kwame's mother and said softly, "Sometimes, when people think they've won, they're really just walking into their own trap." The woman frowned, not understanding. Alma didn't explain. She didn't need to. She simply turned and walked out, her heels clicking against the marble floor like slow, steady drumbeats. Outside the mansion, Alma felt the evening breeze brush her face. For the first time in weeks, she felt peace. She knew she didn't have to argue, beg, or defend herself. The truth was already working behind the scenes. The proud family that laughed at her was about to face the same humiliation they had thrown at her, only worse. As she walked away, Alma whispered to herself, "Karma doesn't rush. It waits for the perfect time." And she knew that time was coming very soon. 2 weeks after Alma's last visit to Kwame's family, life had started to feel quiet again. She spent her days focusing on work, trying to heal and forget. But one afternoon, a delivery man showed up at her door with a gold envelope. It looked fancy, sealed with a shiny red wax stamp. Curious, Alma opened it, and what she saw almost made her laugh. It was a wedding invitation. The names printed in bold letters read, "Kwame and Afia invite you to celebrate their union." For a moment, Alma just stared at it, speechless. The same man who had left her days before their wedding was now marrying someone else, and he had the nerve to send her an invitation. The audacity felt unreal. She sat in silence for a long time, the golden paper trembling slightly in her hands. Her first thought was to tear it apart, maybe even burn it. But then, a strange calm washed over her. It felt like fate had personally handed her this envelope, not as an insult, but as an opportunity. It was as if karma itself was inviting her to the show. Slowly, a smile spread across her face. "All right," she whispered to herself. "If you want me there, I'll come." But she wouldn't come as the heartbroken woman everyone pitied. She would come as the woman who had risen from her pain, stronger, wiser, and ready to let truth do the talking. The following days, Alma prepared carefully. She didn't plan revenge. She planned presence. She went shopping for a dress, not just any dress, but one that would make her glow, pure white, elegant, simple yet breathtaking. She chose white not to mock the bride, but to remind herself that she was free, unbroken, and untouched by their deceit. When she looked in the mirror that morning, she didn't see the same Alma who once cried herself to sleep. She saw a woman who had walked through fire and come out shining. On the day of the wedding, she arrived early, calm and graceful. The venue was a grand beachfront resort, filled with music, laughter, and expensive decorations. Everyone looked happy, unaware of the storm that was quietly approaching. As Alma stepped out of her car, heads began to turn. Whispers followed her as she walked in, her white gown catching the sunlight, her expression unreadable. Even the bride's friends froze for a moment, unsure what to say. Then, across the crowd, she saw Kwame. His smile vanished. His eyes widened in shock, as if he had seen a ghost. Alma just gave a small smile and took her seat. She didn't need to say a word. Her presence alone spoke louder than any confrontation could. She wasn't there for drama, she was there because fate had written her into that moment. She came not as a broken ex, but as the calm voice of karma, patient, quiet, and ready to let truth speak for itself. The sun was shining brightly over the ocean that morning, and a soft breeze carried the scent of salt and flowers across the beachfront. It was a perfect day for a wedding. Guests laughed, cameras flashed, and a band played soft music as people took their seats. Everything looked picture perfect, at least from the outside. Then, through the crowd, Alma arrived. Dressed in a stunning white gown that flowed like silk in the wind, she walked with quiet confidence. Conversation stopped. Heads slowly turned. The whispers began almost instantly. "Isn't that Kwame's ex? What is she doing here?" Every step Alma took drew more eyes, but she didn't flinch. Her face was calm, her posture strong. Kwame, standing at the altar, froze mid-sentence when he saw her. For a few seconds, he didn't even breathe. His fiancée noticed his change in expression but brushed it off, thinking he was just nervous. Alma caught his eye and gave him a soft, almost polite smile, the kind of smile that hides a storm. The bride's father, a proud man with a commanding presence, nodded at Alma, not knowing who she was. "Welcome, my dear," he said warmly, unaware that she was the key to everything that would soon fall apart. The ceremony began. The pastor spoke beautifully about love, faith, and trust. Guests wiped tears, the bride beamed, and Kwame tried to hold himself together. But every time his eyes met Alma's, he felt his throat tighten. She didn't look angry. She looked peaceful. And that scared him more than rage ever could. Alma sat silently in the second row, her small silver purse resting on her lap. Inside it was a flash drive, one that carried weeks of her quiet investigation. Screenshots, voice messages, fake contracts, and proof of the company's fraud. Every lie, every betrayal, neatly packed into one tiny device. As the pastor continued, Alma's fingers brushed against the purse, her heartbeat steady. She wasn't there to make a scene, she was there to let the truth walk on stage. When the moment finally came, the pastor's voice echoed, "If anyone has a reason these two should not be joined, speak now or forever hold your peace." The crowd went silent. For a few long seconds, no one moved. Then, a calm voice broke the stillness. "I do." All heads turned toward Alma. She rose slowly, her gown shimmering under the light. The bride frowned, confused. Kwame's face turned pale. The pastor looked startled. Alma walked forward, her heels clicking softly against the wooden floor. "Forgive me for the interruption," she said kindly. "But I think before we bless this union, everyone should see the truth." She reached into her purse, pulled out the flash drive, and handed it to the technician standing near the projector. No one spoke. The screen lit up. Alma turned to face the crowd, her eyes calm and steady. "Let's all watch together," she said. And with one click, the calm morning began to unravel into chaos. The room went completely silent as Alma handed the flash drive to the technician. No one knew what was about to happen, but the tension in the air was thick enough to feel. The guests looked around, whispering nervously. The projector flickered to life, and a few photos appeared on the big white screen. At first, everyone thought it was part of the wedding slideshow, until the first image hit. It wasn't a photo of the happy couple. It was Kwame, sitting in a hotel room, signing fake documents with a group of men. The next photo showed him laughing while counting money. Then came screenshots of text messages, cruel words he had written about both Alma and the woman standing beside him in a wedding dress. Gasps filled the hall. The music stopped. The bride's smile disappeared instantly. Her father, a powerful businessman, leaned forward in confusion. The next slide showed records of stolen funds, fraudulent contracts, and proof that Kwame's company had cheated several partners, including the bride's own family. A murmur spread through the crowd, followed by shocked cries. Kwame's mother covered her mouth, whispering, "Oh my God." The bride's father's face turned dark and cold. He stood up slowly, his jaw clenched. Kwame panicked. "Turn it off," he shouted, rushing toward the projector. But Alma had planned everything perfectly. The technician refused to stop the video. "Everyone needs to see this," Alma said calmly, her voice clear and steady. She didn't yell or point fingers, she simply stood there, watching the lies crumble around him. The guests stared at the screen as more messages popped up, Kwame bragging about his fake deals, mocking both women, and calling Alma a backup plan. Every word was a nail in his coffin. The bride let out a small sob. She turned to Kwame, her hands trembling. "Is this true?" she demanded, tears streaming down her face. Kwame tried to grab her hands, but she pulled away in disgust. "It's not what it looks like," he stammered, his voice shaking. But before he could say another word, the bride's father stormed forward and grabbed him by the collar. "You lied to my daughter," he growled. "And you cheated my company." Security guards rushed in to separate them as chaos broke loose. Guests were shouting, cameras flashing, people recording the scene on their phones. Reporters who had come to cover the wedding suddenly had a bigger story than they ever imagined. In the middle of the storm, Alma stood still, calm, graceful, almost glowing. The bride, shaking with anger, ripped off her veil and threw it on the floor. Then she walked up to Kwame and slapped him hard across the face. The sound echoed through the hall, followed by gasps and silence. Alma turned, picked up her purse, and looked at Kwame one last time. "Karma doesn't miss," she said softly. Then she walked out of the wedding, leaving behind a room full of shattered lies, broken pride, and the echo of truth that no one could ever silence. The wedding that was supposed to be the happiest day of Kwame's life had turned into a nightmare. After Alma walked out, chaos broke loose. Guests were screaming, the bride's family was shouting, and security guards were trying to control the crowd. Cameras were flashing everywhere as people recorded what had just happened. Within minutes, the video clips began spreading online. Social media exploded with the news. People couldn't believe it, the charming businessman, the perfect groom, had been exposed in front of everyone by the very woman he had betrayed. By the time evening came, the police had arrived at the venue. They moved quickly, asking questions and collecting evidence. The bride's father handed them the flash drive with Alma's proof, confirming every fraudulent deal Kwame had made. Officers escorted him outside while reporters surrounded him, shouting questions. His face was pale, his hands shaking. "It's all a misunderstanding," he tried to say, but no one believed him anymore. His once confident smile was gone, replaced with pure panic. Inside, the guests whispered in disbelief. Some shook their heads, others took pity on the bride, who sat quietly with tears in her eyes. Kwame's mother fainted when the police took her son away, and her friends rushed to help her. All her pride, all her cruel words, had come back to haunt her. The woman who once called Alma beneath their class, now sat helpless, watching her family name crumble in front of the whole city. Kwame's business partners, who had once praised him, immediately pulled away. Calls came in from investors, lawyers, and angry clients. By nightfall, every deal he had worked for was gone. His accounts were frozen, his reputation destroyed. People who had once admired him now called him a liar and a thief. The same crowd that had once toasted to his success now turned their backs without hesitation. Outside, the cameras caught one final image, Alma walking calmly out of the venue. The wind played with her hair as she made her way down the steps. She didn't look back, not once. There was no need to. Behind her, the noise faded into the background. She wasn't walking away in shame or revenge, she was walking away free. Her head was high, her step steady, her expression peaceful. For the first time, she felt light. By midnight, the story had spread across every news outlet and social media platform. The betrayed bride who brought down a fraud, headlines called her brave, strong, unstoppable. Strangers cheered for her, women shared her story, and people across the city called her an inspiration. Alma didn't post a word or give any interviews. She didn't have to. The truth had already spoken for her. The girl who once stood humiliated and heartbroken had now become the city's symbol of justice. In just one day, the pretender had fallen, and the woman he tried to destroy had risen, calm, powerful, and unforgettable. Weeks passed after the dramatic wedding, but Alma's name was still everywhere. People couldn't stop talking about her courage and calmness. Instead of hiding from the attention, Alma decided to use it for something meaningful. She thought about all the women who had been betrayed, humiliated, or abandoned like she once was. She remembered the nights she cried alone and how lost she felt. From that pain, she found a new purpose. With quiet determination, she launched a foundation to support women who had been left heartbroken before their weddings, helping them rebuild their confidence, start small businesses, and find healing in their own strength. The foundation grew quickly. Donations poured in, and messages from women across Ghana and beyond filled Alma's inbox. They called her their Queen of Strength. Alma didn't see herself as a hero, she simply wanted to turn her pain into power. Her story had shown that dignity could win louder than revenge ever could. One day, a journalist sat down with her for an interview and asked, "Do you regret exposing him that way?" Alma smiled softly and replied, "Karma doesn't miss, it just waits for the right audience." That simple sentence spread like wildfire across social media. People shared it with the caption, "The woman who let karma crash the wedding." That night, Alma's story went viral across Africa. Her name became a symbol of strength, truth, and grace. She had lost a wedding, but she had gained something far greater: peace, purpose, and power. The world now knew her not as the woman who was left behind, but as the real queen who turned betrayal into a movement and proved one simple truth: the best revenge is grace, backed by evidence.